Noah lunges towards Yu Yun, yelling to remove his hands from Yu Jin. Yu Yun quickly pushes his brother away from him, and their impact causes a big explosion. Peace is protecting Yu Jin, and the two watch Yu Yun subdue Noah as the smoke dissipates. Yu Yun says he has to do something since it is getting dangerous to let Noah go. Yu Jin rushes to say that there is an explanation for everything, but Noah fiercely growls at Yu Yun. This pretty boy is letting his emotions take over. Yu Yun glares at the young man and claims he must do his part as the Heian guild master. He grabs Noah's arm and asks if it was the exact arm that harmed his guild member, Yerim. Noah retaliates using his dragon tail before Yu Yun can do any further harm. Yu Yun deflects the attack with his arm, throwing Noah off in the process. Yu Jin yells for his brother, but Yu Yun remains unfazed as he looks at his arm. Yu Yun says he was unaware Noah had a tail as he examined his injured arm. From a distance, Noah is already half turned into a dragon, and he glares at Yu Yun with his glowing eyes. You are not as pretty as before when you shift Noah. Yu Jin warns his brother that he has been poisoned. Yu Yun is also unaware of this fact, but he assures his brother that it is okay, stating he can just cut it off before his whole body gets affected by the poison. True to his word, Yu Yun cuts it off, shocking his own brother. Peace simply watches over this spectacle, but Yu Jin has none of his brother's brazen logic. Yu Jin resumes his call with Taewon, asking if he heard everything. We almost forgot that Taewon is still on the line. Good thinking, MC. Taewon replies that he is already on his way to the facility. Yu Jin urges him to hurry since it might turn out more dangerous than now. Yu Yun pours out a healing potion on his damaged arm as he looks at Noah, who seems to be struggling. Suddenly, there were a lot of cracking sounds as Noah grew dragon wings and wholly transformed into a dragon. So he can completely transform into a dragon? Noah screeches in his dragon form and flies up into the air. Yu Jin is surprised that Noah can transform into a dragon completely and even has the ability to fly. Yu Jin reckons that with Noah's current form, he would still be at a disadvantage. Noah flies towards Yu Yun, but Yu Yun merely smirks. Yu Yun asks if he can just slay this monster before him as he activates blue willow leaves. Numerous blue willow leaves hinder Noah's vision, making the dragon crash into the domed ceiling. Yu Yun uses his leaves to leap up to where Noah is and swings his sword up in preparation for an attack. Yu Yun claims that there is no space there for him to fly. Yu Yun brings his sword down to a slash, injuring one of Noah's wings. The dragon wails as poison seeps out from him. Yu Yun smiles at this futile attempt and says it will not work on him since he can simply burn it up before it can even reach him. Noah crashes to the ground with Yu Yun on top of him. Yu Yun glares at the dragon as he lifts his sword, claiming that Noah should pay with his life for harming Yu Jin. Do not say that, lil bro. Big bro will not like it. This declaration snaps Noah into action, even if his injury makes it hard for him to move. Upon gaining determination, Noah uses a skill that shocks Yu Yun. Noah has activated his skill, Healing Hand, and new flesh forms to cover his injured wing. The wound gets completely healed with the bright light of magic circle beneath Noah. At least it is not as horrific as Jiyu's healing factor from plus 99 reinforced wooden stick. Noah glares at Yu Yun and announces that he is also an S-ranker. With a shriek, Noah charges toward Yu Yun to attack. Noah knows he can't lose now since he managed to evolve into an S-ranker through hard work. Still, Yu Yun easily deflects the attack with his sword. Yu Yun takes hold of a glowing blue string and uses it to tie Noah. Yu Yun pulls on the rope, and Noah tries his hardest to break free. But like how he tried his best to be acknowledged by his sister, his resolve and actions are in vain. Noah sheds tears as he recalls how his sister usually admonished him for being weak. Just like that, Noah crashes to the ground with a big blast. The smoke clears up, and Yu Yun is once again looking down on fallen Noah. Yu Yun swings his sword while commenting that choosing not to use any skills on the dragon took some time to take it down. Yu Yun prepares to give the final blow, but he stops when he realizes that his brother used the Stern Mother Hendril Surgeon's skill on him. Yu Jin commands his brother to stop and threatens him that if he proceeds, he will send all of Noah's sensations to Yu Yun. Yu Jin does not want to resort to this, but seeing that his brother has no plans of stopping gives him no choice. It is incredible how our MC keeps on thinking up new ways to utilize his skills. Yu Yun looks at his brother, surprised that Yu Jin's skill can be used this way. Yu Yun seriously asks his brother why he is trying hard to protect the guy who initiated the attack. Noah is still crying. Seeing this dragon's state, Yu Jin can't help but be concerned. Yu Jin yells that he should stop since even his new building will be destroyed if he continues. Yu Jin approaches Noah and asks if he is okay. Yu Yun looks away, feeling jealous. Yu Yun warns his brother to be careful nonetheless. Yu Jin talks to Noah and explains to him that his relationship with Yu Yun is actually close, so he has nothing to worry about. You should really listen this time, kid. Noah has shifted back to his human form, though he is still lying on his back, crying. Noah sits up, and Peace automatically leaps nearby to cover his exposed private parts. Good job, Peace. Yu Jin exclaims about Noah's lack of clothes, but it can't be helped since those got destroyed when Noah turned into a dragon. Noah ignores his lack of clothes and tears stream from his eyes. He asks why he is weak and how come an F-ranker like Yu Jin can save an S-ranker like him. Noah mulls over his belief that he would be acknowledged by his sister by becoming an S-ranker. Noah has already achieved this. He also established himself as a guild master and even gained an SSS class title. And yet none of these helped Riot see him in a better light. Poor kid, you do not have to despair. You should stop seeking your twisted sister's approval. Noah cries as he mentions how he keeps on messing things up. He explains that he easily lets his emotions take over whenever he thinks of his sister. Noah apologizes again for being weak, but Yu Jin makes a face upon hearing those words. Yu Jin asks what Noah exactly means. This question makes Noah pause while Yu Jin fumes as he asks who said it was Noah's fault. Yu Jin reiterates that it is not because Noah is weak, and that the real problem here is his sister. Noah looks at the disaster he caused while Peace lays beside him to ensure this pretty blonde boy is covered. He is such a good kitty. Noah says he did all of these, referring to the chaos in the facility. Yu Jin looks as well and admits that Noah made some mistakes. Yu Jin stands up straight and tells his brother to get him something they can use to cover Noah up. Yu Yun begrudgingly listens to his older brother and brings a blanket. Yu Jin takes the blanket from Yu Yun and covers Noah with it. Yu Jin tells Noah that he may not know him and Riot well, but based on what he has seen so far, he can tell that how Riot treats Noah is wrong. It is easy to discern that Noah is abused, making him naturally scared of his own sister. Yu Jin slumps down as he concedes that Riot is just really scary, which is why no one can stop her from treating Noah that way. That makes sense, but there are other S-rankers who were aware of this situation, but did not stop Riot. For example, there is Yoonjae, but yeah, we can't expect too much from this guy. Noah can't say it, but he agrees with Yu Jin. He says that things might have been different if he had been stronger, but Yu Jin refutes those words and says he should not be treated that way, whether he is strong or weak. These claims make Noah's eyes widen and gaze at Yu Jin. Yu Jin fixes Noah's blanket to cover him adequately and tells him he is not weak. Yu Jin reminds Noah that he kept on trying to improve to the point that he created his own guild and even got himself a title. And most of all, he tried his best to win against his sister. Yu Jin tied the ends of the blanket to keep it secure. He then reassures Noah that he did a great job and is now strong. Yu Jin smiles at Noah and reminds him of how he fought just now with Yu Yun because he was afraid for Yu Jin's safety. Yu Jin guarantees that such action is not something a weak person would do. These words left so much impact on Noah that he can't help crying prettily once again. This kid is such a crybaby, but is okay if it is this kid. He is still pretty even though he's crying. Noah says is the first time someone has told him such things, making Yu Jin think about this seriously. Yu Jin is sure anyone can tell Noah is suffering because of Riot. Yu Jin looks over at the young man whose face reddens with tears filling his eyes. Yu Jin decides to reassure Noah again and advises him to keep his distance from his sister in the meantime. Noah mumbled, and Yu Jin did not hear him the first time. Noah wipes his tears as he asks if he can stay there until he musters up his courage to face his sister. Yu Jin readily accepts the request while Yu Yun and Peace stare at the two with blank faces. The two are in sync as Yu Yun thinks about how he should have slain Noah, while Peace growls at this turn of events. Lil Bro and Peace are jealous. There is another addition to the list of people and magic beasts who are craving Big Bro's attention. Chief Officer Taewon Song arrives at the facility to take Noah away. "You're late, Taewon." Things had already settled down even before he got there. Noah is still tearing up while he looks at Yu Jin. At the same time, Taewon instructs his personnel to tell everyone that it is safe to return to their homes. And in the background, some staff are cleaning up the mess that Yu Yun and Noah created in the place. Yu Jin looks in amazement at how professional Taewon is in ensuring that regular civilians will not be hurt in the clash. I guess this is the reason he was late. As for Yu Yun, he glares at Taewon as he recalls what the guy did to his older brother. Unable to keep his cool, Yu Yun throws a dagger toward Taewon. Taewon easily catches the blade with one hand as he looks at Yu Yun, who is glaring at him. And this somehow resolved the issue from before. Lil Bro really can't keep his cool if it concerns Big Bro. After some time, Noah started working as a guard in the facility to repay the damage he caused. This fact overjoyed Yujin since he got an S-ranker as a guard for free. There was also the issue between Noah and Yerim. But unlike Yujin's expectations, Yerim quickly forgave Noah for what happened. Yerim claims that the fight was a fun experience for her and adds that they should do it again next time so that she can freeze Noah's poison. Noah is also a bit surprised by the turn of events. Still, he immediately agrees to fight again with Yerim anytime. Yujin is taken aback at how fast they made up and wonders if all S-rankers make up this way. These S-rankers are pretty chill. It is like a brawl is just a game for them. Noah leaves them to handle other paperwork, and Yujin waves him bye. As Noah goes, Yerim looks at Yujin. She says she is okay with this, but then asks if Yujin really feels the same. The question surprises Yujin, and Yerim starts pointing out that Noah is the guy who attacked him in their first meeting, and that same guy has a crazy S-ranker for a sister. She asks if Yujin really has no perception of fear. There is also Tae-won, who attacked Yujin when they were alone, and it was also their first meeting. Our MC already forgave Tae-won, so Yerim should not be surprised anymore that the same applies to Noah. Yujin laughs it off, seeing that Yerim got it all correct. Yerim asks if Yujin has been manipulated or something. Still, Yujin only looks away, thinking that he is actually the one who is manipulative here. Yep, but only you and the system are aware of that. Yujin scratches his head and claims that he feels terrible for Noah since he is still young, and he really wants to help him out. Yerim beats on her chest as she shouts that this is the exact problem with Yujin. Yerim points at Yujin as she reminds him that ordinary people would get intimidated even if they just stood next to an S-ranker. She explains how she even has to hide her own energy while at school so that her friends will not be afraid of her. She then shouts that Yujin does not even get scared and does the complete opposite. Yujin feeling bad for an S-ranker is utterly different from the norm. Yerim compares him to a hamster who feels terrible for a beast. She has the same observations as Lil Bro, back when Lil Bro compared his brother to a mouse who takes care of predators. Yerim says that Yujin is weird, but Yujin contradicts this. He says he is only worried for Noah since he is around Yuyun's age, and the young man really does not feel like a stranger to him. Yerim says this kind of thinking is also weird and asks about Yujin's actual relationship with Yuyun. She comments on how Yujin kept on talking as if he was the one who raised him. Yujin looks at Yerim, surprised that she is unaware. He admits that he actually did raise Yuyun from preschool. Yujin proudly says that during Parents' Day, he would give carnations to Yujin instead of their parents. For those who miss reading the notes, Parents' Day is celebrated in Korea instead of a separate Mother's Day or Father's Day, and it is a custom to give carnations to them. Yerim asks if they still had their parents at that time, and if they were not on good terms to the point that Yujin had to take over the responsibility of raising his younger brother. Yujin thinks about it for a moment and says that their parents' relationship is actually quite great since they are the type to always eat out and do things together. Yujin adds that it was during one of their trips that their parents died. Yerim skeptically looks at Yujin and asks if their parents left them on their own. She says that this is a weird thing for parents to do. Yujin thinks about it and says he is not sure. The doubt on his face clears up as he says it is okay since his parents are on good terms. To better understand Yujin and Yuyun's family dynamics, here's a flashback. The television is open, and there is a documentary about how a cuckoo lays its egg in a different nest. It explains how the eggs will look similar on the outside, but once it hatches, it would be obvious how it is a different bird species. It adds how the newborn cuckoo would push the other eggs off the nest, while the mother would unknowingly feed the cuckoo hatchling, which is obviously more significant than her. Yep, this documentary is a subtle analogy of the Han family dynamics. A young Yujin is on the floor, too busy to pay attention to the show on television. He is drawing his younger brother with their family in his sketchbook when he suddenly gets startled by his mom's shout. Mother Han exclaimed as she agreed at how creepy it was. Mother Han and Father Han are talking about how a child will not cry or laugh, even though the hospital said there was nothing wrong with the child. Mother Han cries as she compares how different the kid is from Yujin and admits that it feels like the baby is not her own child. Mother and Father Han are referring to Yuyun here. This actually clears up a lot of things. We now know that Lil Bro has been weird since he was a baby. This situation might even be similar to Yoonjae and Ryit. Yujin stops his drawing and stands up with a stuffed toy in his hand. Despite hearing his mother's confession of how afraid she is that the child might one day, the rest of the sentence was not heard as his mother's voice became muffled. Yujin enters his brother's room and looks over at his brother. Jin is confused about why their parents would say such things about Yun. Jin gives the frog's stuffed toy to a young Yun, who is simply staying still in his crib. Jin fondly looks at his brother as he claims that Yun is cute and kind. I must agree with Big Bro here. Lil Bro is too cute, even though he is indifferent. As they grew up, their parents would ask if Jin would like to go out with Mother and Father Han, even though Yun was always with Jin. But as always, Jin would innocently ask if Yun is included. Jin is so close to Yun that even at night, he is the one to read to his brother before going to sleep. Jin's actions have always puzzled both Father and Mother Han. They are confused as to why Jin seems unaffected by Yun's actions and is even so nice to his younger brother. I do not get it. Lil Bro is seriously too cute in this panel. It is no wonder Jin kept gushing about his brother even before the gates appeared in their world. Mother Han breaks down, thinking there must be something wrong with them since Jin is a great brother to Yun. Father Han tries to calm Mother Han, but Mother Han continues to cry, saying that the feelings they are getting from Yun do not make sense when she knows for sure that she gave birth to Yun. She exclaims that if other people knew, they would be labeled as crazy parents. Father Han hugs Mother Han to his chest as he tells her he knows what she means. He looks at the teared-up photos and the blotted images of Yun in their family pictures. Father Han then admits that he is also afraid of their own son, Yun. Father Han is confused as to why they would be afraid of their own son when Yun is just a kid. He opens the door to their kid's room as he wonders how Jin can bear to be near Yun. Father Han gets startled when he sees a big blot of darkness holding the book in front of Jin. Jin then looks up, seeing their father's arrival. In Father Han's eyes, Yun remains enveloped in darkness even though he can see Jin clearly. Oh, so that is why they are scared of Yun. They are unable to see that little kid's cuteness. Jin is acting normally, and this makes Father Han wonder if it is not only Yun. If Jin is like this, it might be possible that they are not the weird ones, and it might actually be Jin himself. Big Bro has been strange since he was young. These siblings really suit one another. With this new mindset, the Han parents left their two sons on their own. However, they still do their responsibility of cooking them food or giving them allowances. From then on, the two brothers think that this is a normal thing to occur in a family. They would celebrate on their own, even if it was Christmas. Their parents would take trips on their own, leaving Jin and Yun behind. Jin says that this is because their parents are so close to each other. Yup, they did not grow normally. This is the exact reason why the brothers are so attached to each other. Jin smiles at his brother, saying they can celebrate Yun's birthday on their own. Yun's birthday falls on Christmas, and Jin says is great since everything looks sparkly during this time of the year. Jin keeps hold of Yun's hand as they wander the streets to look at the sparkly things around them, and Jin hopes they can buy a birthday cake even though it is Christmas. And that's the end of this flashback. Yun looks at his own hand, thinking that things might have been different if he did not take hold of his older brother's hand back then. Yun thinks that Jin would be able to live an everyday life even if Yun was out of the picture. Yun mulls over this as he looks at his brother. Jin smiles as he interacts with Yurim and Noah. Yun already knows of this fact, but for Yun, he is still unable to let go of that hand. That night in the Sijang Guild headquarters, Yoon-jae is talking on the phone. The person on the other end of the line mentions that she heard about Noah's mistake. Yoon-jae compares the situation to how they initially trained a dog who ran away from them in the end. The other person asks if this is the reason why her flight was moved. She also asks why Noah did it in the first place. Yoon-jae looks at his phone, which is placed on speaker mode, as he says that what happened might have something to do with Yoo-jin Han. The woman named Evelyn in Yoon-jae's phone dawns with understanding as she says Yoo-jin's title is a magic beast tamer. Everyone is still unaware that this is a fake title. The woman on the other end of the call is in a foreign land and wonders if Yoo-jin managed to tame Noah, because Noah is a half monster. Yoon-jae laughs at this, saying it would be amusing if that is the reason. The long-haired woman pauses and comments that Yoon-jae does not seem to be upset by this turn of events. Yoon-jae smiles as he admits that he actually likes it when things are happening, not how he expected them to be. Yoon-jae looks through the recent pictures of Yoo-jin that day and says he will complain to the new master about their escaped dog. Now Yoon-jae has another reason to go to Yoo-jin and make his demands. And I should also point out that he has terrible stalking habits. In the streets, Soyeon happily sings as she carries a customized dragon tower for her beloved Comet, while at the same time carrying new supplies and toys for the baby dragon. Soyeon looks up at the sky as she starts saying a line she made herself, but Soyeon does not get to finish when she sees someone falling from a tower. The stick figure is back. Soyoung screams with surprise and thinks she must save them somehow, but she stops in these thoughts when dragon wings come from the person's back. Soyoung watches as Noah elegantly transforms into a dragon. Wow, this pretty blonde boy has learned well from Peace in making sure his jewels are not in plain sight of everyone when he transforms. Noah majestically soars in the air, making Soyoung stop in her tracks with awe. The supplies and toys litter the ground as they fall from Soyoung's arms. Soyoung trembles with happiness upon discovering that another dragon made its appearance, and this dragon is actually a human as well. Because of this event, the already low possibility of Soyoung becoming Yoojin's sister-in-law plummeted to 0. I now agree with Yoon. He really should have slain Noah back then. Lil Bro's supposedly future girlfriend is currently enamored with that pretty boy dragon. Up in the sky, Noah is in his dragon form with Blue flying near him. Yoojin asks Noah how it feels, and Noah replies enthusiastically, claiming that it is easier for him since Blue has the same 4 legs and wings as him. He says that the sensation of flight is also much easier this way. Blue happily coos as if he understood what Noah just said. Yoojin's eyes are glowing brightly as he shares the senses of Blue with Noah using his skill, Stern Mother Hendril Sergeant. Yoojin claims that Blue is great at flying, and Noah is sure to learn a lot from the magic beast. He then instructs Noah to copy Blue's wing movements, and Noah immediately complies. Noah exclaims that flying is now more manageable, and Yoojin compliments the young man. You can even use that skill for this kind of training. This skill is really beneficial for our MC. Yoojin closes his eyes and thinks how foreign it is to feel something similar to flying when he does not even have wings. At the same time, Yoojin is engrossed in the sensation of the wind as if he himself is flying right now. He finds this experience exhilarating, yet at the same time, it is also sickening. Yoojin suddenly yells at Blue, scolding the Golden Griffin to stop doing stunts as he flies. Blue ignores the scolding and happily squeals in the air. Noah realizes what is happening and immediately shifts back to his human form to run back to Yoojin. He asks if Yoojin is fine, and Yoojin says he is, even though he is already on all 4s. Blue joins them, and Blue perches on Noah's shoulder as Noah reminds Blue that they should go slow. Yoojin looks at the two, but is suddenly reminded that Noah needs some clothes first. This pretty blonde kid needs further lessons about decency. Noah started training with Blue in his dragon form to get used to flying and moving his body as a dragon. Yoojin admits that it was challenging, but he still deems that taking Noah in under his care is like hitting the jackpot. Aside from Noah's title, he also has other noteworthy skills like the B-grade healing hand. In the novel, this was actually ranked as A-class. Yoojin mulls over the fact that healers typically have low stats, but since Noah is an S-ranker, there is less worry about the healer getting hurt. Yoojin looks at Noah's other skill, which is the Soundless Scream. It is an S-rank attack skill that makes his opponent feel twice the pain that Noah is feeling. That is a good skill. I wonder why he did not use this when he fought Yu Yun. Just a trivia. This skill is also marked as an A-class skill in the novel, though it has similar effects. Noah explained that this skill only works in the same parts of the body. So back when Noah hurt his wings from Yu Yun's attack, he could not use this skill against Yoojin's younger brother since Yu Yun has no wings. Yoojin was relieved that his brother could not hurt Noah further at that time, or else it would have been bad for Yu Yun. So that is the reason. It is not because Noah was holding back or anything. Yoojin thinks of Noah's last skill, which he finds to be the most appealing. Noah and Yoojin face each other in a training room while Yu Yun and Peace watch over the two with leering eyes. Yes, we all know you two are jealous. Noah activates his skill, and his hand glows as he directs it toward Yoojin. A notification appears specifying the strength stat, and Yoojin also starts to glow. Yoojin looks at his body as the skill, Stat Rental, activates. Yoojin feels buffed up and announces that he will start. Yoojin punches his fist to the ground, and it gets destroyed upon impact. Yoojin looks at his handiwork and is excited at how the skill perfectly works. Noah claps his hands at Yoojin's success. Yoojin is amazed at how a stat rental skill is much more helpful than using equipment or other items to raise his stats. With his A-rank ability to borrow or lend half of the stats for 30 minutes per day, this is more than perfect for our F-ranker MC. Yoojin compliments Noah for having this much strength, even though Noah is a healer. Noah reminds Yoojin that he's an S-ranker, so this much power output is expected. Yoojin is once again lost in his daydream as he thinks of how the effect will be multiplied by 4 if he adds the veteran F-ranker title and Rao Cheetah's Bane skill to the mix. If you recall, veteran F-ranker can double an attack skill. In contrast, Rao Cheetah's Bane can double the effects of skills if Yu Jin is up against a lesser venomous cursed dragon like Noah and Riyit. And with this, you just can't help but admire our MC's forward thinking. Yu Jin can already see himself riding Noah in the future. Yu Jin imagines that even if Noah activates his poison skills, he will remain safe since he has an L-grade poison resistance skill. He believes he can use this to the max in a dungeon raid. And Yu Jin is sure that monsters will not be able to even approach them this way. Sorry Soyeon, our MC is already claiming that seat on Noah's dragon's back. Thinking only of the best outcomes with Noah by his side, Yu Jin is not a single bit hesitant in saying that Noah is the best. Noah, of course, tears up at Yu Jin's words, claiming that it is the first time he has heard such praise. This interaction between them obviously gets a glare from the jealous Yu Yun and Peace. Poor Peace. It is like his role as our MC's mount is stolen, just like that. Yu Jin is relieved that Noah is satisfied with his current life in the facility. At the same time, Blue has also grown well while training with Noah. This makes Yu Jin wonder if his skill, "My kid is the best," also contributed to this. As if to test out his newfound power, Blue decides to pounce on Peace, who lazily lounges as he watches Yu Jin. Peace quickly detects Blue's intention, and he uses Gigantification and smacks Blue in the head with a paw. Blue was unable to evade, and Yu Jin exclaimed. Peace continues to pounce on Blue as if he is playing with the Golden Griffin, and Yu Jin reminds Peace to be nice to his siblings. Peace complies with Yu Jin's wishes, and Yu Jin hugs the Horned Flame Lion. Yu Jin thinks that Peace does not like the fact that his dad has more work with the current number of magic beasts and people around them. Yu Jin tries reassuring Peace and says he must do this since this is his chosen profession. For Yu Jin, those days of training magic beasts and Noah can be considered brilliantly productive. Just like in reality, these days won't really last that long when you're the thorn in the side. And for our MC, this comes in the form of an annoying guildmaster named Yoonjae Sung. Yoonjae visits with a big basket of flowers, claiming he is there to congratulate Blue's growth. Yu Jin only glares at Yoonjae, making Yoonjae admit that the flowers were actually from Soyeon, so he should still take it. Yu Jin smiles as he accepts the basket, thinking that Yoonjae must have been busy and he should not have delivered it himself. At the same time, Yu Jin speaks his honest thoughts, asking why Yoonjae did this when others could deliver it. This makes Yoonjae smile as he comments on how Yu Jin has mixed up his thoughts with his words. Yep, the Sejeon Guildmaster is well aware of how much he annoys our MC with his existence, seeing that there is no reason to mince words. Yu Jin bluntly asks Yoonjae what he wants, still smiling. Yoonjae says he is hurt by Yu Jin's treatment, then admits that he went there as an investor who is visiting a runaway debtor. Noah appears above them in his dragon form and shrieks. He causes a gust of wind as he approaches them while staying in his dragon form. Noah drops behind Yu Jin and puts his tail before Yu Jin as if to protect him. Noah claims that he never ran away and kept his promise. He even warns Yoonjae to not involve Yu Jin in this matter of theirs. Yoonjae calmly looks at the dragon, who is unsuccessful in trying to be menacing. Yoonjae says that Noah should have immediately made this known before he ran away. He then comments on how close Noah has gotten with Yu Jin and asks if Noah got hired as a pet. The Sejeon Guildmaster is really good at invoking hate from others. This comment makes Noah furious, and he reiterates that he is a human. Before Noah can do anything else, Yu Jin makes him stop. Yu Jin claims responsibility for Noah, saying that he is the one who took him. Noah tries to rebut, but Yu Jin reminds him that it was his own decision to hire Noah. Yu Jin says he only does this for himself so Noah can leave this matter to him. Typical Noah tears up at Yu Jin's proclamation. For Yu Jin, he is really only doing this to keep the young man decent. Yu Jin does not want Noah to shift back into his human form since he does not have a blanket or even Peace to keep Noah covered. Yu Jin turns to Yoonjae and says he does not know their problem, but whatever it may be, he will take Noah. So if there is a debt that Noah must pay, Yoonjae can talk about it with him instead. Yoonjae stares at him as Yu Jin asks what Yoonjae wants in return. I bet Yoonjae is waiting for this exact moment when Yu Jin owes him a favor. Let's start chapter 79 with a flashback. A news reporter states that a guild involved in the incident chose to dissolve since there were witnesses claiming that there was a sighting of a golden dragon. And the incident may have occurred because of a dungeon break. Undoubtedly, the golden dragon is Noah, but his ability is not public knowledge during this time. Yoonjae watches the news as he ends his call. He thinks that his previous investment is now thriving as he mulls over how great Noah's poison skill is. So the curse skill is more significant for Riyit, while the poison skill is more potent for Noah. But what Yoon-jae appreciates more is Noah's ability to completely transform into a dragon. His unique ability makes it possible to slay specific targets and make it seem like there was a dungeon break in the area. Really devious Sejong Guild Master. Yoon-jae smiles, thinking it might be tricky if the target is another S-ranker. Still, anyone below that would be an easy picking for Noah. Yoon-jae grimly smiles as he plans to slay those people behind the Hanshin and Breaker Guild. And once this happens, he will once more have Yoojin's skills in his hands. So the goal of Yoon-jae's plans is Yoojin. Getting back to the present, that same person who made heinous plans is now receiving a drink from the person he wants for his own. Yoon-jae blankly stares at the canned drink in his hand that Yoojin handed him. Yoojin claims he might like this drink since he saw Yoon-jae drinking Earl Grey tea before. Yoojin says he got other canned teas and Yoon-jae can choose whatever he wants. Yoojin says this as he pets Noah in the face. Yoon-jae looks at Yoojin, wondering if Yoojin is aware of how he foiled Yoon-jae's plans, even though it was not his intention. Yoon-jae gets into business and says he has invested much in Noah. Yoon-jae can't explain it in detail, but he lets Yoojin know that this included the information on getting Noah a title. He describes how Noah is helpful despite being a support. Trusting his eyes, Yoon-jae made it possible for Noah to build his own guild and even create distance from his sister Ryit. Yoon-jae stares at Yoojin as he gives the final blow on how Noah chose Yoojin right after meeting him. He is using the guilty card to get what he wants from Yoojin. Yoojin avoids the stare but looks back at Yoon-jae when the Sejong Guild Master mentions how the Art Guild disintegrated with just one call. Yoojin then looks at Noah, who adopts an angelic expression while saying that he did that after he decided to stay there with Yoojin. Yoojin wonders if Noah's decision to disband the Art Guild is acceptable. Yoon-jae continues to guilt-trip Yoojin by saying how he made Yoojin think that the Art Guild is unrelated to his own benefit, but claims that Yoojin found out about it nonetheless. Yoojin and Noah glare at Yoon-jae with disgust, while Yoojin thinks about how those were confessed by Yoon-jae himself, and he does not even try to guess that. Playing mind games with Yoon-jae is exhausting. Noah sees where this is going and decides to make his stand by claiming he can pay for what he owes Yoon-jae on his own. He says he can do dungeon raids if that is what Yoon-jae wants. Yoon-jae quickly refuses Noah's offer, claiming that Sejong Guild does not lack hunters. He adds that Noah holds no interest in him anymore since he does not have the Art Guild anymore, adding to the fact that others already know about Noah's transformation skill, while this is the truth for him. Yoon-jae adds that Noah is now helpful for what Yoojin requires. Yoon-jae gazes at Yoojin as he asks Yoojin for confirmation. Putting on his smiling face, Yoon-jae claims that he can easily ride it with Yoojin's poison-resistant skill. This statement pisses off Yoojin, and he reminds Yoon-jae that Noah is a human, so he should be referred to as he and not it. Seeing this, Yoon-jae kept his smiling face on and corrected himself by saying that Yoojin could enter high-tier dungeons that do not have flying monsters with him. Yoon-jae is onto our MC's plans. Despite correcting himself, Yoojin ignores Yoon-jae and says there is no need for him to do dungeon raids. Yoojin scratches his head, thinking Yoon-jae managed to see through his plans. Feeling that there is no other way out of it, Yoojin asks Yoon-jae what he wants this time. Yoojin reminds him they already have a contract for the Magic Beast training. As Yoon-jae said earlier, his guild does not lack hunters. Yoon-jae was waiting for Yoojin to ask this, and he smiled as he pretended to think it over. Yoon-jae puts up 3 fingers and announces 3 times. He wants Yoojin to help him out 3 times when he needs it. Let's take a pause here and appreciate Yoon-jae's fingers for a moment. Cause seriously, I always find myself amazed when artists draw hands. Okay, let's go back to the story now. Yoojin claims this request is vague and wants it written down in detail in a contract. Yoojin gets some tools for the contract from his inventory, but Yoon-jae claims it is unnecessary. Yoojin is skeptical of his statement and asks what Yoon-jae will do if he chooses to act dumb when Yoon-jae needs him. Yoon-jae acts like a damsel as he claims that he will be too hurt if Yoojin does this, then adds that he trusts that Yoojin wouldn't do that to him. Yoojin looks at Yoon-jae with disdain, wondering if the Sejong Guild Master has gone nuts since he is alright with a verbal promise between them despite the weight of the conditions. Yoojin can't help but wonder if Yoon-jae is so confident that he can still claim whatever he desires even if it is not written. Yoon-jae just trusts your personality, MC. Yoojin is worried since he knows that the guy before him is not a single bit affected when Yoojin previously used the keyword. He feels uncomfortable, but Yoojin inferred he can help at least that much. Yoojin finally concludes and puts the contract paper back into his inventory. He agrees with Yoon-jae's terms, making Noah worried. Yujin reaches out his hand to Yunjae and adds that he will still reject it if he is unable to do it or if the request is meant to hurt others. Yunjae smiles at this and reaches out his hand as well. Yunjae says that he has no intention of harming anyone, and the two shake hands. And that is how the Season Guildmaster managed to achieve his goal despite having his original plan thrown into the trash. Now that Yujin agreed to help him out 3 times, Yunjae quickly asks Yujin if he can really only share the doubled effect of attack skill if Yujin is wearing an item that nullifies damage. Yujin looks at Yunjae and says that is the case, and adds that he does not have the bracelet he used before. This makes Yunjae smile and asks Yujin to make sure to let him know when Myungwoo will be able to create an item with similar effects. Yujin glares at Yunjae as he confirms his suspicion that Yunjae only wants his skill. Behind Yujin, Noel laments the fact that Yujin is being taken advantage of because of him. Yujin laughs and curses Yunjae in his head. He thoroughly mocks the Season Guildmaster in his mind as he thinks that the kind of item Yunjae wishes to appear is very rare to have. But instead of Yunjae, the world mocks Yujin, as a worn-out Myungwoo hands him 3 marbles that have similar effects to the bracelet he gave him before. These clear marbles are called Shalo's Beads. Though it has a name this time, there is still no explanation of its effects or its class. The only other indication on it is that it is a one-time use item. This is why you should not have gotten ahead of yourself, MC. You should have known by now that waifu material, Myungwoo, would do his utmost to provide for you. Yujin and Yuyun are inside Myungwoo's golden smithy. Yuyun is busy looking around the place while his brother worriedly asks Myungwoo if he is getting enough sleep. Yujin asks what Myungwoo is working on, that he can create a damage-nullifying item from it. Myungwoo is obviously tired, but he promises to show Yujin what he has been working on once it is completed. So the Shalo's Beads were only Myungwoo's side project. He is probably working on something permanent compared to these consumable items. Yuyun still looks around the smithy with a red egg in his hand and comments on how functional this space would be if used in dungeon raids. The already tired Myungwoo gets irritated at those words and says he would not want anyone else coming into his smithy. Yujin tries to calm his friend down and thanks Myungwoo for letting Yuyun visit the smithy. Getting to the point of Yuyun's visit, Yujin asks Myungwoo if he knows anything about the red egg that Yuyun got from his previous dungeon raid. With its intricate design, the red egg is an SSS grade item that Yuyun and Peace received as a reward for clearing the S-class dungeon. Yujin had seen this before he turned back time as a part of a series that rarely appeared. He knows that people back then were unsuccessful in determining what it was for, since there were barely any reactions from it, and the egg did not even break. Yujin believes that this time would be different because, in this timeline, they have Myungwoo and Izmur, who can help understand what it is for. This is no doubt a perk of this new timeline. Yujin nudges his brother while furiously thinking about how he made it possible for them to meet and become friends despite their dislike for one another. Yujin attempts to have his brother understand his thoughts on this matter, but Yuyun gets distracted when he finds a large fire in the hearth of the smithy. The fire blazes profusely, surprising Yujin at Izmur's appearance. Yuyun looks at the fire indifferently, while Izmur looks and points down at the egg in Yuyun's hand. Izmur says that a young flame is there, and he injects the egg with some of his power. The red egg turns dark and cracks in Yuyun's hand. Smoke emerges from its cracked shell as Yuyun holds it with both hands. A small blazing red lizard comes out of the egg. The fire dissipates as Yujin looks at it. The lizard looks around and as if finding its home. It leaped from Yuyun's hand into one of Yuyun's eyes. This, of course, shocks Big Bro as he watches the lizard disappear in his brother's eye. Yujin jumps at what happened, worried sick for his brother. But as always, Yuyun is calm as the lizard jumps out of his eye, and Yuyun assures his older brother that he's okay. Yuyun hands the small lizard to his brother, deeming it safe. Yuyun explains that the lizard likes the inside of his eye, but this only confuses his brother. Yujin looks at the lizard with his promising sprout skill, determining that it is a fire elemental similar to Izmur, though this one is an F class. The skill also lets Yujin know that the spirit is already contracted with his younger brother. I guess they formed the contract right when it went into Lil Bro's eye. Myungwoo looks at Izmur, wondering if the lizard awakened because Izmur shared some of its powers with it. Yujin looks at the lizard who returned to his brother as he ponders how those eggs from before never got to hatch since their world does not have any elementals. Yujin believes this is another significant change after turning back time. Yuyun uses his black flame to see how the fire elemental will react to it. As if being fed, the lizard opens its mouth wide to eat up the black flame offered to him. Seeing this reaction, Yu-Yun concludes that the elemental is resistant to flame. Yu-Jin says that if it does feed on fire, Yu-Yun can take his time and enjoy raising it. Yu-Jin adds that it might even grow as strong as Myung-Woo's Izmure, since the lizard came out of an SSS-grade egg. This comment shocks Myung-Woo and says that Yu-Jin shouldn't have said that. Myung-Woo turns to his partner, who tries his best to make himself small. Myung-Woo reassures Izmure that he is the best and there is nothing for him to worry about. Myung-Woo adds that a small thing is nothing compared to his Izmure. Izmure is similar to Myung-Woo's previous personality. Myung-Woo must have grown since he has to take care of his big baby. Yu-Jin, Yu-Yun, and the lizard watch Myung-Woo jump all over the place to restore Izmure's confidence. Yu-Jin realizes that Myung-Woo must have been having difficulty dealing with the elemental similar to how Yu-Jin is struggling with the magic beasts. The lizard crawls to Yu-Yun's face while Yu-Yun looks at the item in his brother's hand. Yu-Jin takes a close look at the beads he received from Myung-Woo, thinking that this was a fruitful visit since he also received new damage-nullifying items. Lil Bro must be thinking that his big bro is up to something dangerous again. Yu-Jin recalls his conversation with the Sejeong Guildmaster about making sure to inform him if Yu-Jin receives new items with the same effect. But, of course, our MC has no plans to do his bidding. Unable to keep the silence brewing, Yu-Yun asks Yu-Jin if anything is wrong. Yu-Jin quickly denies it, assuring his brother that nothing is wrong, and simply laughs. He then reminds his brother to thank Myung-Woo for helping him out with the egg. While at the same time, Yu-Jin is thinking hard that he must never reveal to Yoon-jae that he got these new items from Myung-Woo. Those were Yu-Jin's thoughts at that time, but as usual, nothing really went his way. Like any typical story, things must go against the MC's expectations. Yoon-jae's hair flutters as he smiles at a furious Yu-Jin. He says he has packed them some lunch while carrying a basket full of food. Despite our MC's intention to keep away, they still ended up being together with Yoon-jae. But before we go further on that picnic date, let us check what happened prior to it. Hyuna visits the monster training facility with some monster meat for Blue. She is apparently excited to be there as she hands a lump of meat toward the golden griffin. Yu-Jin notices the undeniable change in Hyuna's hair. Hyuna says she just went ahead with it even though she got a thorough scolding from the old geezers supporting her guild. The two of them got to talking about the issue of the increased rarity of infant magic beasts in the world as they watched Blue eat some meat. They are sitting on one of the benches of the rooftop garden, as Hyuna says that people from everywhere are trying their best to purchase one and leave the raising to Yu-Jin. And this fact has only added to Hyuna's desire to have her own magic beast. Yu-Jin looks like he lost some weight because of his work and admits that he currently does not have the extra energy to raise a new one. Hyuna then taps his shoulder and says she is there to remind Yu-Jin of their promise. She crushes Yu-Jin into a sudden hug as she tries to jog Yu-Jin's memories of their promise to have Hyuna ride Blue once he is all grown up. She adds that she will provide whatever Yu-Jin needs to make this possible. Yu-Jin's words become incomprehensible because of the hug. It is apparent that Hyuna forgot that our MC can't take such kind of affection from an S-ranker. As if realizing her mistake, she loosens her hug and tries to placate herself by squeezing Yu-Jin's cheeks. Yu-Jin finally can talk normally and asks her what she got from her recent S-class dungeon raid instead. This makes Hyuna pause on what she's doing with Yu-Jin's cheeks and says she got a good one out of the dungeon. Yu-Jin's eyes brighten in anticipation as he recalls how Hyuna got the festival's white whale tears in his past life. This consumable item imbues an ice-type skill and equipment. Yu-Jin remembers that the Hyuna had placed it in an auction since it did not suit her wind-type skills. Yu-Jin hopes to purchase it for Yerim since this item completely suits her. Our MC is doing a fantastic job taking care of the kids, but unlike Yu-Jin's expectations, she brings out a different item. Hyuna shows off a sparkly golden bottle of elixir, making Yu-Jin's eyes bulge out of shock. Hyuna proudly says that having this item is the same as having an extra life. She looks at Yu-Jin like a cat, making sure that the other does not intend to ask for that item from her. Yu-Jin cares nothing for the elixir since he hopes a different item will appear. He urgently asks Hyuna if she did not get anything similar to a skill-imbuing item. Hyuna says she didn't, though she did get a pair of S-grade gloves. This makes Yu-Jin pause. Hyuna looks at his loading state as Yu-Jin ponders why the rewards were changed even though it was the same dungeon. He mulls over the fact that this kind of thing, where the rewards are different, has not happened before. Is it the butterfly effect of our MC's regression? Seeing that Yu-Jin is barely moving and simply staring off into space, Hyuna asks him what is wrong. Seeing that Yu-Jin is barely moving and simply staring off into space, Hyuna asks him what is wrong. Yu-Jin looks at Hyuna as she poses and asks Yu-Jin if he has fallen for her. That sparkly flowery view disturbs Yu-jin, so he closes his eyes and turns his head away. He immediately says that is not the case, making Hyuna laugh at his reaction. Seriously, MC, you are blind to Hyuna's striking features. Yu-jin contemplates the changes happening before him. Whether it is Hyuna's hair, Yerim's awakening to an S-class, or having Noah by his side, Yu-jin thinks these changes are all positive. Yerim and Noah arrive where Yu-jin and Hyuna are. Yerim is surprised at how Big Blue's tummy got after eating all those meat. At the same time, Hyuna shows weird interest in Noah, who gets spooked by Hyuna's expression. Yu-jin quickly protects Noah from Hyuna's advances and gets ahead of her, saying she can't ask for a ride. I would honestly do the same if I was in Hyuna's shoes. Though it was a bit chaotic, Yu-jin was able to adapt to the changes, and he accepted the fact that even dungeon rewards can change. But just to make sure, Yu-jin checks the news on his phone. He finds that big-name items like America's White Sand Cross Shield, the Philippines' Lullaby Singing Book, or India's Wind-Commanding Bow were already present in this timeline. Yu-jin now lounges with peace in a reclining chair. Yu-jin tries to stay positive, thinking it might only be different this time. But as usual, even when he's trying to do this, Yu-jin can't keep his cool, so he heads straight to his brother and just straight up tells him that they should go to a dungeon. Yu-jin is no longer surprised by his brother's statement, and he can see that something is brewing in his older brother's mind. I love how Lil Bro quickly adapts to Big Bro's sudden mood swings. The siblings go for a drive with peace, and Yu-jin asks if Yu-jin has some questions for the system. Yu-jin says he does. He adds that he wants to ask about Chirpy and other things that are bothering him. Yu-jin can't speak about turning back time, so he can't be honest about his desire to ask the system about how things are playing out differently from what he knows, including the change in the rewards. Yu-jin adds that Chirpy is so mysterious since skills do not work on her. She also does not grow like Peace or Blue, and there are times that she acts weird. Yu-jin recalls the time that he woke up in the middle of the night because he heard the TV on. He went up to check, thinking that it might be Myung-woo. The news is on, and there are reports about the Sijiang Guild bringing in the S-ranker Evelyn Miller, known for her wide-range attacks. This is the woman Yoon-jae was talking to on his phone. Yu-jin ignored what was being reported at that time because what he saw on the sofa woke up his senses. Chirpy was sitting on it with the remote controller by her side. It is obvious that the little bird is intently watching the news at that moment, and she is not even getting distracted. Yu-jin immediately comes close and asks if Chirpy opened the TV on her own and how she managed to get on the sofa despite the height. Yu-jin notices the basket before the couch and realizes that this is what Chirpy used to climb it. Yu-jin then gushes at how genius Chirpy is. Seeing how amazing Chirpy is, Yu-jin offers some mana stones as a reward. But unlike her usual cheerful and greedy temper, Chirpy refuses the offer. This reaction confuses Yu-jin, making him question if it was really Chirpy before him. Chirpy simply gives a short reply and continues to watch the news. It is like the real Chirpy got kidnapped and replaced with an indifferent Chirpy. Yu-jin finishes the story, saying that after that moment, Chirpy went back to normal and even ran towards the Mana Stone. Yu-jin is so worried about this that he even wonders if there is something wrong with Chirpy or if the magic beast somehow developed a multiple personality disorder. Yu-jin watches the road as he drives, saying his brother's prediction could be possible. He tells Yu-jin that there are magic beasts who even grow another head as they grow. This kind of monster even has different personalities. Yu-jin pales at his brother's story as he imagines Chirpy becoming a Chirp Trio. Yu-jin bluntly says he does not know how to feel if that happens. Lol, Chirpy getting 3 heads looks like a chick version of the Cerberus. Yu-jin says he will only go to the dungeon to ask, but even if the question is about Chirpy, he can't really bring her with them. He says that Chirpy is only an F-class who can't even use a piece of equipment. Peace, who is quietly staying put in Yu-jin's lap, gets startled. Yu-jin asks Peace if there is a problem and realizes that the horn-flame lion is only curious about the red lizard in Yu-yun's arm. While Peace is busy staring at it, Yu-jin comments on how the fire elemental went with them. Peace's paw trembles as he lifts it, but he is surprised that the lizard went away up to Yu-yun's arm. Peace is either trying to pounce on it or holding himself back from doing so. Yu-jin asks his brother if it is alright for it to tag along since it is only an F rank. At the same time, Peace continues to watch closely at the crawling lizard. Yu-jin says it is okay since it would be stuck on him and will not get hurt that way. He adds that it can go into his skin. As if on cue, the fire spirit crawls to Yu-yun's cheek and embeds itself in it like a red tattoo. Yu-jin asks his brother if there is anything wrong since he can feel the stare that Yu-jin is giving him. Yu-jin says is nothing, but he is staring because it is only then did he realize that Yu Yun has also changed a lot. Yu Yun tells Yu Jin that you should not worry about him and to stay close to him at all times while they are in the dungeon. Yu Jin smiles fondly at his brother and says that he is really reliable. Yu Jin relaxed as he thought it was all for the better. Even if things changed, he was able to reconcile with his brother, and they could even go into dungeons together. These were things he could not do in his past life. But as we all expected, and our MC being the only exception, Peace cannot hold himself back and pounces at where the lizard disappeared in Yu Yun's face. Yu Jin is shocked by this, but Peace does not want to give up. Yu Jin has to pull him off to avoid causing an accident while Yu Yun is driving. Peace is confused since the lizard he clearly saw earlier is now gone, while Yu Yun focuses on his driving task, ignoring the fur that Peace left all over him. For Yu Jin, these changes are okay as long as his brother is okay. When he remembers the times they had to be apart or that memory that he really wants to forget. Yu Jin is relieved that those things never happened in this life. This is what Yu Jin believes to be the most important of all. With all these thoughts running through his mind, Yu Jin rubs his brother's head to help him remove Peace's fur. I know that memory hurts, but it also serves as proof of how much little bro is willing to sacrifice himself for big bro. The siblings finally enter the dungeon with Peace. The place is filled with snow, and Yu Jin is confused, since he thought it was supposed to be a desert-type dungeon. Yu Yun checks their surroundings and says there are no monsters nearby, and even he wonders why it is like this. Unlike them, Peace is more interested in the falling snow and puts out his tongue to give it a taste. Yu Jin says it might be connected to the system and turns Peace into a scarf. While Yu Jin is carefree, Yu Yun is seriously mulling over the various possibilities of this occurrence. Feeling uneasy, Yu Yun tells his brother that they should leave. Yu Jin wants to wait for the system, but Yu Yun asks if his brother can really trust the system, and this place might be a trap instead. Yu Yun is worried that those who want his brother dead might be involved. Better safe than sorry. Yu Jin understands his brother's concern, but he tries to reason by asking if a person is capable of changing a dungeon on a large scale. But Yu Yun does not give him an answer and glares somewhere. Yu Jin is puzzled as to why his brother would be this tense. Then he remembers how his brother mentioned something about a cult. Yu Jin suddenly asks Yu Yun if he is hiding anything from him, which of course startles Yu Yun. Yu Jin states that a person will not be able to do this kind of thing in a dungeon. So what his brother is so cautious against are not other guilds or even the Awakened. Yu Yun knows that his brother has already caught on, and he tries to find the words to answer him. Yu Jin asks Yu Yun if this involves that cult or Confucianism that he mentioned to him before. Yu Yun pauses and turns his head as he says that he can't talk about it. Yu Jin is at a loss as to why, so Yu Yun says he wrote a contract. Your big bro can deal with it for you if a contract is involved. Sometimes you guys should talk it out and resolve things efficiently. But before Yu Yun can speak further about it, there is a flash of an incoming attack, and Yu Yun uses his forearm as a shield. Yu Jin and Peace are shocked by the sudden attack that pierces Yu Yun's arm, but Yu Yun keeps calm as he tells his brother to prepare a marble. Peace leaps out from Yu Jin's arms and uses gigantification. Yu Jin is appalled that an arrow can penetrate an S-ranker's arm like his brother, and he is sure that even a high-tier monster is unable to do such a thing. A hat appears from the snow on the ground. Then a toy Nutcracker's body pops out with a bow in hand. Yu Jin uses a potion on his brother's arm while he looks out at the sudden appearance of that toy. He uses his promising sprout skill and is confounded when he finds out it is called a Toy Soldier number 6 with an S rank. There is also information about a contractor, but the details under it are blurred out. Wait, so aside from elementals, other things can be contracted. I wonder if our MC can overwrite those contracts. Yu Jin tells his brother that the toy is an S rank. Seeing that it is called number 6, Yu Jin deduces there are others, meaning it could be 5 or more. And as he expected, other toy soldiers start appearing, completely surrounding the 3 of them. This turn of events worries Yu Jin that he can't help but curse out at the system for their current predicament. Why is it that every time our MC enters the dungeon, something ominous is bound to happen? Surrounded by S-rank toy soldiers, Yu Jin felt like they were being played with a sick joke by the system. Yu Yun immediately covers for his brother, repeating those same lines to get out of there, and he will somehow handle things. Lil bro, you are always quick to make your brother retreat. Yu Jin, of course, does not agree with this, calling his brother crazy for even suggesting such a thing. He asks how Yu Yun intends to deal with those on his own, but the toy soldiers charged at them before Yu Yun could even answer or think up a plan. Halt! Somebody yelled at the toy soldiers to a stop, making each Nutcracker stop in their tracks. The brothers are both surprised. Yu-jin puts out a hand holding onto a Shaylo's bead while the other hand is on Yu-Yun's face. That looks awkward, but I guess is his way of trying to hold his brother back. A huge blue strike box appears out of nowhere, and just like before, a voice yells for everyone to return. The toy soldiers were suddenly sucked back into the box. Once everything is in the box, a glowing red volleyball pops out from it, commenting that Honey must have been scared. That red volleyball head used to be pixelated from Chapter 53, so I guess the area changed because of the system and not some cult Yu-Yun was wary of. Does this also mean that those toy soldiers are contracted to this volleyball? The glowing red volleyball floats into the air while Yu-Yun has an arm up to cover his brother. The volleyball apologizes, saying he did not know the toys would attack Honey's brother. Yu-jin finally realizes that this volleyball before them is one of those who are controlling the system. The volleyball winks at Yu-jin and urges him to be called Newbie instead. We finally have a name to call one of them, even though it is only an alias. Still, it is better than calling him Volleyball. Yu-jin does not appreciate the wink and scolds Newbie by bouncing it on the ground numerous times and ranting about how Yu-Yun's arm got a hole because of the toys. Newbie gets dizzy as it cries out. To defend himself, he says that Honey's brother was also at fault. Yu-jin stops the bouncing and holds the ball between his hands. He asks what did his brother even do as he looks at Yu-Yun in peace. Only then did Yu-jin realize that Yu-Yun is not reacting beside him because he and Peace are trapped in some sort of bubble. Yu-jin is surprised by this, and the two try their best to get out of it. This system is always separating these siblings. Newbie explains that he just blocked them since they are forbidden to hear their conversation. Newbie adds that the place they are in right now was explicitly made for Honey, and he can't allow it to have it burnt to a crisp like last time. Yu-jin looks at the place and then at his brother. Yu-jin signals to Yu-Yun that it is okay. Unable to do anything, Yu-Yun has no choice but to stay put. Yu-jin remembers that the last place only got burned down since he suddenly disappeared right in front of Yu-Yun. I agree with our MC, it was undoubtedly the system's fault that it happened in the first place. Newbie apologizes again for attacking Honey's brother and explains that it happened because Honey's brother is involved with them, who shall not be named. This revelation surprises Yu-jin, and he asks Newbie if this is the same as those things that his brother mentioned to be a cult of sorts. Newbie says he can't really tell Honey about this. Yu-jin then asks if those guys are dangerous and if his brother will be okay. Newbie reassures Honey that those guys will not be able to do anything to Honey or his brother since resorting to direct force or intervention is against the rules. But Yu-jin does not buy it and pulls on Newbie, saying that those guys can just break the rules he speaks of. True, this system lacks common sense. Newbie is about to reply, but there is a sudden rumbling from the distance. Yu-jin looks around while Newbie reminds him that talking about those guys is dangerous, so Honey can't ask any more questions about them. This puts Yu-jin in a serious mood as he thinks about how those who are after him and his brother are the same as the group that the system is against. Yu-jin wonders if they can even fight them when even this volleyball is obviously strong. He mulls over the fact that his brother somehow got himself involved with those said enemies. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I can't help agreeing with Lil Bro. Big Bro really should not place his trust in the system. As if hearing Yu-jin's thoughts, Newbie smiles as he assures Honey that things will be okay as long as he and this system are together. Newbie explains that Honey's safety is essential for the system. He then reminds Honey they are short on time and asks if he has other questions. Yu-jin thinks about it and then asks about Chirpy. Newbie checks it out, but after a short pause, he claims he can't look at him and asks if Honey managed to influence this Chirpy. This question confuses Yu-jin, saying that he is sure that the keyword worked somehow. Our MC forgot that he only assumed that it worked, but there were no notifications that it did. Newbie finds it strange that he can't find anything about Chirpy and tells Honey to bring it with him next time. Yu-jin asks if he will take a look at it by then, but Newbie replies that he will delete it, making Yu-jin pissed off to the point that he throws the ball away. Yu-jin shouts that he can't delete Chirpy when she's obviously alive. Newbie bounces back to where Yu-jin is and says it is only natural to do so, if it is a problem. Yu-jin is exasperated at this, thinking that these guys in the system are a bunch of psychopaths. I must agree with our MC here. They are very much sus in my opinion. Yu-jin wonders if he can trust the system since every time he receives answers from them, he can't help but be more anxious. They even attacked his precious brother, and now it acts as if the talk of deleting Chirpy is nothing serious. This situation reminds Yu-jin of a story he read when he was young. The story is about a supreme being with a goal yet lacking human empathy. And this supreme being would grant the wishes of humans, but it would do so in a distorted way. Yu-jin thinks the system is the same as this supreme being in the story. He recalls how he got previously scammed with the wishing stone. He wonders if the system was able to correctly grant him his wish. This thought makes Yujin pause with horror, and he decides to ask one more thing. I feel bad about where his thoughts are going. Newbie looks up at him expectantly, as Yujin thinks about how the current results are better than he hoped. Unlike the story of the Supreme Being, Yujin can say that things are even better in the present. But even though he thinks positively, Yujin feels a sense of dread, but he knows he must ask. Yujin asks about the change in the reward from an S-grade dungeon that he was sure of from his past life, and asks if this is just something that happened or if the fact that he turned back time has affected it somehow. Newbie asks if the item is consumable, then adds that if it is, it would explain why the change occurred. This answer confuses Yujin, and he says that he did turn back time. He confirms with Newbie if this means that the item is technically unused. Newbie quickly negates this, saying Honey must not have known about it. He explains that Honey turning back time does not mean that the things that happened in his previous life never happened, and we have gotten ourselves into a regression conundrum. The answer confuses Yujin, but when he finally understands it somehow, his face darkens. Newbie once again explains more straightforwardly that what happened is similar to overwriting an existing date. He explains that the 5 years Honey lived before never disappeared. Instead, it was simply overwritten. Newbie compares it to water being transferred to a similar jug. He adds that in the case of the beings in Honey's world, most are identical. Hence, what the system did was combine them. With Honey being the regressor, he has overwritten the information of those 5 years with his current life. The same goes for the others, since they can also overwrite their original future. But unlike Yujin, those people are unaware they have been combined with the old data. If you focus on them, Yunjae looks the same in the reflection of his original life. At the same time, the changes in Yerim, Hyuna, and others are obviously different. Newbie adds that some exceptions will feel that something is different. In the case of these sensitives, I think it might come as a déjà vu or a premonition. But it is also possible that someone can remember their past life like our MC does. Getting back to the story, Newbie says everyone will have data of their original future self. Still, there are exceptions to this, the used items and dead people. He explains that these are already excluded even before time was turned back and will be considered deleted information that has been cut out from Honey's world. Yujin slumps to the ground upon hearing this. At the same time, Newbie continues to explain that the data of the dead can't be combined with the current living. Snow falls around Yujin as he tries to understand everything and summarizes them. He looks down as he says things that happened in the original timeline are not undone or reversed. Instead, they are cut out or deleted. Newbie confirms that these things will vanish. This only makes Yujin desolate as he thinks about Yuyun, who died that day. He mulls over the fact that his 25-year-old brother of that time suffered 8 years on his own, who died to protect him and will still have to bear all those things on his own. Yujin imagined that this brother of his would still be lying dead in the dungeon where Yujin had left him, all alone and not part of his current world. That would be such a crappy turn of events. We want a happy ending for these brothers, even for the original Yuyun. Newbie is unaware of the things running through Honey's mind and continues to explain that the reward Yujin is asking about must have already been used, so it does not exist now in his current world. Yujin does not care for the rewards and is more concerned with other things. He stands up and tells Newbie to let him out. Yujin approaches his brother, who is still trapped in the bubble with Peace, and angrily asks the system why they would separate him from his brother without saying anything. He commands Newbie to let his brother out immediately and says that Yuyun should not have been left alone in such a place. Yujin pertains to both the bubble and the dungeon where Yuyun died, but Newbie does not get this. Newbie immediately complies and releases the bubble, saying their time is almost up. Yuyun and Peace were finally released, and Yuyun quickly approached his brother. Newbie cheerfully bids Honey goodbye, thinking that nothing went wrong with this visit. He then instructs Honey to knock on the gate 3 times, so that he can enter this space again. Yujin ignores Newbie even as it disappears. Once Newbie is gone, Yujin apologizes to Yuyun, saying it must have been cold for him. Yuyun is confused by how Yujin is acting and says that, as an S-ranker, he is fine. If you guys and gals are sensitive, do not hesitate to use your tissues or hanky. God knows I did when I first read this. Yuyun can tell that something is wrong with his brother and asks him, but Yujin simply caresses his brother's face and once again says he is sorry. Yujin hugs his brother tightly as he continues to apologize to him. Yujin is filled with somber thoughts, thinking that he should not have been so quick in choosing to turn back time. Instead, he should have begged the system to bring his brother back with the wishing stone. Yujin recalls how Yuyun entered the dungeon just to save him, and in turn, Yuyun died protecting him. Yujin wonders if the original Yu Yun has already disappeared from the point of view of the beings outside of their world. But what Yujin fears the most is that his brother is left all alone, abandoned.